Hey, everybody.
Hey, you two guys, you realize when we mute, it's our goal around here to get someone cracking up. And Chris, it was just awesome what he was just doing. It was like beatbox Chris.
We and as our gift to you, you
Didn't
shan't have to
it.
witness.
Absolutely.
All right. We will not replay that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead. Hey, everybody, I'm Shane.
I'm Lex.
We are going to talk about kind of better together, both Sysinternals.
Batman and Robin, Shane and Lex, and Sysinternals and PDQ.
That's right. Matt and Trey. It's all good.
Matt and Trey.
So yeah, we're going to talk Sysinternals, but we're going to talk about it more in the context of with the PDQ product.
Yeah.
So we're not going to necessarily just. I mentioned this in the pre-show. We're not just going to open up, your Process Explorer and show you our favorite parts of that. No, we're saying there's different ways and different use cases that you're going to want to use Sysinternals. And you've probably been using Sysinternals for a while, probably longer than the PDQ products. Show you how you can integrate some of them into PDQ as far as having PDQ be like the delivery mechanism for it. So we'll show you a couple of those. But number one, let's go. Let's build what we're going to. Well, before I actually do that, I'm going to go into a command prompt.
Okay.
All right. And I'm going to go. We've got these in. Let's see. I'm going to go to our repository because that's where I've got the.
Where we drop these guys?
Pardon me?
That's where we drop the. So, okay, with Sysinternals, obviously it's a bunch of, they can all run by themselves programs, but they need to be in a directory or in your path. So this is where we dropped them.
That's right. So we throw them in the Sysinternals suite. There they are right there. Now, the reason I'm going to want to show you something here. First thing you're going to want to know, sorry, let's make that smaller. Move this up. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to know, this is just a quick aside here. We're going to be talking about, for the most part, running Sysinternals from a command line. And the first time you run any particular utility on a machine, it's going to pop up a EULA, and that's a problem. All right, so there is a command line parameter, and I think it's best practice, honestly, to just add that parameter to whether you're doing this from a tool, a PDQ package, or a remote command. Just add that out of habit to your.
Otherwise, it's going to pop the EULA on the machine that you're running this on. It's going to hang until either somebody sees it and does something, or if it's running in the background, until it times out. I'm
going to run PsLoggedOn, and I'm just going to, maybe we've run it on this machine before, we'll find out. Nope, there it is. So I've run it, there it is, there's that software license terms. This will be a problem if this pops up on a remote system. Depending on how you're executing it, they won't even see this, it'll just hang. Or you're running a tool for the first time, this pops up, problem. So a way to get back that, I'll just hit decline, is you can always add it's a forward slash or a dash, and it's not case sensitive. Is it no EULA?
It's except EULA.
It's except EULA.
Except EULA?
Thank you.
Now, is that on every single one of those guys? Because I've actually gone through and I run it and I look for the, / on it just to see what's, available. And some are like no license and some's, no. Anyway.
Yep, for the most part, thank you. Except EULA had a brain fart. Except EULA, notice that it did pop up there, or it did run the PsLoggedOn. Now I see who's there. So just prepare to add that. There we go. Prepare to add that to there we go. Prepare to add that to your tools and stuff like that.
Make sure you do.
Just minimize this. All right, so let's show one use case. If you want to get the Sysinternal suite or one or more utilities, you may not want all of them, out to your targets. So you want to have them on a file or maybe in their Windows directory, somewhere in their path. You want to copy them out. We'll show you how you can do that. This way, you've always got those.
Yeah. To run them remote, they have to reside on the remote machine. So basically, we're going to build a package to show you how to get them out there.
Sysinternals.
Nice.
All right, how's that? And we will do let's do a file copy.
Nice.
All right. Now I've got this in the repository, so I'll just click on the source, or we're going to change to the folder.
Yeah, we'll just grab that entire folder.
Yeah, we'll just grab the whole folder. Go to Microsoft. We're going to go to Sysinternal Suite. Perfect. Select this folder. So there it is. It's in the repository, Microsoft Sysinternals Suite. Now,
Something to notice here again is there's 55 meg there. So if you grabbed an empty directory, that'll be empty. So just make sure you just kind of check those things as you're going through there.
We can just throw it in Winder. That's just the Windows directory.
It's in the path. That'll be easy to access.
If we could place this in like Winder and then create a new directory called Sysinternals or something, but then at that point you would still want to add that subdirectory to the path environment of all your targets. And there's ways to do that, but Windows, I like it. I always see that they're there. It's up to you.
Now, I would tag overwrite existing files, because if you're going to do this occasionally just to get the updates, then all you got to do is just download your directory and then you're good to go. So
we don't need to include subfolders in this case because they all just exist in this one folder. All right, and if you ever want to be on the safe side of life and you don't want these on servers or something, you can always go over to your OS conditions and change those appropriately. It's up to you. I think that should do it. So this is going to copy everything from there over, hit save.
Let's launch it.
Then we'll launch it.
So are we Rick and Morty today?
Yeah, we'll just do. I'll just do Morty real quick.
Okay.
All right. Let's see
I still haven't seen that.
So now.
That's nothing.
You need to.
Yeah, I've given up on you.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're deploying it. Now, if you're, I should call this out while we're copying. So that's copying out. If your sysinternals, in this case, existed not in your repository, or if your repository was on a file share, or you just didn't use the repository, you just pointed to a UNC, this is a great example of if those source files are not on your PDQ deploy server, of going out to the properties options and changing that to a pull if it's not there already.
Yep.
And the pull will then, it'll save you from having to, it will copy down to your console and then push out. So there's an extra hop in there.
So it just sends the instructions, go get it from here.
Tells all the targets, go out to this file share and grab those, as opposed to bring them down here and then pushing it out to each target. So making sure that's a pull.
Yeah, successful.
All right, so we can go out to Morty. Did you know this? If you have PDQ inventory, you can right click and say open in PDQ inventory. And if you have PDQ inventory, it'll just go right there to Morty. And let's go to shares. And let's go to admin. Admin $ is the Windows directory. And if we just scroll down there, you'll see there's all, we can tell those right now, there's a bunch of those files. So it worked, copied them the way we want. So we talked about make sure whatever you do, however you call these, you're going to do the accept EULA. Chris, are you up for, I think Chris is going to talk about one of the more popular utilities, which is PsExec. You want to take a question first? Okay, sure.
Question,
Go down.
Dear Shane and Lex, is there a way to use an application like Sysinternals and put the output into a custom field? Could we run BlueScreenView and put the basic information into a custom field to keep track of that device? Thanks in advance, Zach M.
There are a number of ways to populate your custom fields.
Yeah.
Chris, do anything you want to add to that?
Always.
Go ahead. You want to come up here and answer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to, because from there, thank you for that question, Zach. So leave that question up for a moment so Chris can see it again. But Chris will answer that and then move into PsExec. How's that sound?
Awesome. Hi.
I'm going to pretend I'm you for a sec. Pet your corgi, use PowerShell.
Couldn't have said it better. If you don't have a corgi, get one.
Okay.
So, that's crucial to this. No, I actually have a blog post somewhat related to this about getting your information into PDQ inventory using the custom fields import wizard. You can do this from the UI, so if you wanted to do this for any machine here, you can actually, let's say you just want to open one of these machines, you can also do it from the menu, but if you had, for example, we had Morty open I think a moment ago, but from here, you can go to the custom fields, click on import wizard, and you can go through this process of importing from a CSV into this and other machines. It'll import as many as you have. So you have to have a CSV file that has, rows for each of your machines, plus all the data and headers that you need for getting stuff in. Now, getting that from Sysinternals,
Okay, no, I was...
So, the tricky part is getting your stuff all, your ducks in a row from Sysinternals. So you need to massage your output the way that you need and save that in a CSV, and then you can use this import wizard. The blog post that I did, I don't know, some 2 months ago-ish, details this really simply, but you can use that and modify it for your needs, but it uses the command line version of using the import wizard. And I think Colby, he should be able to chime up here if I'm wrong here. He has a post coming up which is pretty cool, where he's actually combining PDQ deploy and the custom import fields wizard. So he's actually going out to gather information using deploy and then having it come back all within one package and then massaging it, doing its thing, and then getting it in inventory. It's really, really cool thing that you guys should look forward to. It'll be nice, but that's how you could do it. So
Yeah. Again, everything in your custom import is related to the computer name. So you got to make sure all the data you want is related back in with the computer name. So that's one thing you got to make sure you have.
Yes. And otherwise, you can script to your heart's content, which is a lot in my case. So, but getting back to what I hope that answers the question. But getting back to what kind of Shane brought up, which was one of my favorite utilities,
PsExec.
PsExec.
Yeah.
This is what I used to rely upon in my days gone past when I couldn't get PowerShell remoting set up. This is how I did remoting. So what I do now that I have PDQ inventory, is I usually set up a tool using this. And I think I still have them on this machine. If not, we'll import them.
Sysinternals.
In fact, there they are. But for those of you free at no extra charge, I'm actually going to import them just because fun. Because you can actually, on here, you can import tools. And I'm going to copy them to the desktop here from my spot. Because you can save and export your tools, which is awesome. And then it'll import them here and let me know that, hey, you've got some tools imported. So with those, what we're going to do is we're actually going to set up, wow, that I must have clicked somewhere weird there. Import complete. There we go.
5 tools imported.
So, oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time here.
You're like the click bomber today, man.
I really am.
Deep breath. Do not click as fast as you talk, my friend.
No kidding.
Okay.
So, with the sysinternals that we have here, I'm just going to show you the original one that I had, but PsExec. Pulling up this tool, you're going to see a couple different things. One is just an explanation of what's going on so I can see it on screen and having something that we have to make sure that I know what I'm doing. But the general syntax for PsExec is PsExec, and then you're going to point to whack the machine that you want to connect to. And in this case, we're going to do that except EULA that we did before to make sure that it's always accepted, just to guarantee that. And then here, CMD. Kind of weird? Kind of weird?
Chris kind of forgot that CMD existed.
Yeah, it's no one likes it as much as PowerShell. Yeah. So anyway.
Crickets on that one.
The great thing about this tool, though, is for those of you who don't want to get into PowerShell or don't have PowerShell remoting, this can get you a remote console using CMD on that machine. So, for example, if I was to select...
Let's go to Morty again.
Morty?
Yeah.
Let's do Morty. And we're going to go Tools. We're going to go to all the tools. My little table flipping guy, Sysinternals, and PsExec CMD. If you notice at the top here, it says Morty, and then it's fully qualified domain name. So
Do an echo computer name on that.
oh, here, hostname.
Bang. Here
Right
it is.
there.
On Morty.
Morty. Isn't that fantastic? At this point, I can actually hit Control-C to break out of that. No, I'm not going to terminate the bash drive, but I'm going to exit out, and I'll type hostname again, and you can see that I'm going to get it. So you can actually see the difference of the commands. Thank you. That's a good thing to point out. So you can actually have a remote console using CMD, for those of you who are familiar with that, and do that just with a tool. And so now, with that tool, you can use that as a framework for running any command with PsExec. GP update, that's a very popular one that's often misused with tools.
Yep.
Because tools are used locally on your machine. When you have a tool that does GP update and you select a bunch of computers and try and use it, it's actually just running GP update a ton of times on your machine.
Locally, yep.
But PsExec will do it for you with GP update. So
I got a question.
cool.
Dear PowerShell guru Chris, I've been trying to do more via PowerShell, but keep running into machines that the execution policy is not set. When trying to push a script to the machines, it always fails. How can I enable, say, remote signed on all the machines so I can push out these scripts? Sincerely, Doug K.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
PowerShell question. Cool. Good timing. I'm up here. My question is...
It's a PowerShell question in the basically in the form of I understand PsExec, but I would kind of like to do this with PowerShell.
Right.
But I'm running into remote sign. I'm running into these issues with remoting.
What's the easiest way to get that done, man?
Well, so this is the execution policy that we're talking about. You can set execution policy at domain level, which is really neat, really nifty. But if you're deploying PowerShell from our products, we actually use the bypass execution policy. So we actually bypass that at the process
Sure.
level. So For example, if you were to load up in deploy or in inventory for that matter, let's do it from inventory. So let's select Morty, and we're going to do a remote command. Let's do tools. Where are you, remote command? There you are.
Dear remote command.
We're going to switch this over to PowerShell. When I'm doing a command here, if I just do, let's say, dir, or let's be more accurate, get child item on the C drive on Morty. If he has remoting set up, this will run, this will work great. We're actually using the bypass execution policy. And we're doing that when we're calling it, what we're actually calling the process. What that does is it bypasses the local policy for the execution policy on that machine for the user and computer level and does it at the process level. Now there are two more above that for the computer and the user that can be set from group policy. So if that's how you manage things, I say do it from group policy.
Yeah.
You can set your group policy this way using remote command. See, there we go. We have success listing the directory contents of C.
And I want to throw out one of the reasons, hey everybody, one of the reasons that we chose to do this, the bypass, is the fact that you're not even able to run a remote command or you're not able to deploy unless you're using credentials that have administrative rights. And once you have administrative rights, you can destroy that computer anyway. So, in case you were thinking, ooh, why would you do bypass? That's dangerous. Well, you're already an administrator and you can already destroy said machine. So this is a way of helping to be more effective in, running successful PowerShell scripts.
Absolutely. So take off those training wheels. You're good. If you actually do need to explicitly set it, you can set it here by doing set execution policy. Execution policy. I can type. And then whatever you want to do, like remote signed. So you can do it this way and run it and set it. But if you're using our products to deploy those scripts, you're not going to run into any problems. So anyway, hopefully that answers the question. That's PowerShell. Yay!
Did you want to cover anything else with PsExec?
PsExec, again.
On a tool or something like that?
Tools in general. A couple other examples I want to show you. We mentioned PsLoggedOn in the chat I saw. That's also one of my favorite utilities. Here's an example of doing that the same way with a tool. So now I can define a shortcut here, which is Control-Alt-L, and I can select a machine and run that target machine. I accept the EULA, and life is good. So
at this point, all you got to do, pick a machine.
Pick a machine. And this one, I think PsLoggedOn relies on remote registry, so Control-Alt-L. We'll see if it actually works on Morty. If I can select him. Here we go. Tools. I'm not going to use shortcuts because I'm actually going to show it because that's how I roll.
That's how I roll.
I try to anyway. So you can do the same thing here and run PsLoggedOn. Hey, there you go. Logged on. So you can do this with just about any tool that you can target a remote computer with. And this is the same for any tool, not just Sysinternals, but Sysinternals more often than not have the ability to target a remote machine. And so you can do really easy, really powerful tools that you can use with hotkeys. Select, keyboard shortcut, bam.
It'll launch on them.
Yeah, it's
Remote
amazing.
machine.
So, tools,
Thanks,
PowerShell, corgis.
Tools, PowerShell, corgis.
I'll leave it to Chris. Thanks, buddy.
That's actually how he leaves the house every single day.
Tools, PowerShell, corgis.
He can't leave in any situation without some declaration being made.
That's the wife, he loves her.
That's awesome.
PowerShell, corgis.
So,
PsExec.
speaking of, we do have in our package library a pre-built Sysinternals tool called BgInfo.
Before we do that, however,
You want to do something other than
no,
that?
just I would love you to drive, but are there any questions that are waiting? Otherwise, we'll just jump into BgInfo. I'm sorry. Oh.
Dear Shane and Lex, with these powerful Sysinternals tools, e.g. PsExec, deployed to all the clients, how do you suggest keeping an environment safe from exploits such as Petya outbreak back in June utilizing PsExec? Sincerely, Chad B.
Well, hello, Chad B. If you recall, Petya, and that's a great question. So, yes, number one, anytime you adopt any new tool or utility, anything, you necessarily expand your attack surface. So obviously, number one, it's a question of priority. It's a question of, do I want this benefit more than the extra pain? Now, as far as Petya, yes, that was using a PsExec, at least in one instance, because there were a couple of flavors to utilize that. But the machine still had to have been unpatched, and the patch was made in March. So, if the patch had been applied in that March patch had been applied, then the PsExec still would not have affected this. That's my understanding. So it still comes down to patch your systems.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime you're opening up the ability to run any command, whether it's software deployment, whether it's hey, I'm going to join this to a network, this standalone machine, you're increasing your attack surface.
Basically, anytime you add anything to your machine, your attack surface has now gotten broader. So again, like Shane said, you got to weigh the good and the bad.
Yeah, I was in a security meeting once, and there was a guy who was he didn't seem to understand the concept of cost benefit analysis, and he just said, I don't want any vulnerabilities. And I said, then unplug your machines.
Take it off the network.
All right. I haven't seen too many Selectra typewriter hacks lately. It's that way. So patch your systems, everybody. That's really, at least in the case you threw out there, that would have solved that.
Yeah.
All right, you want to drive there, young man?
Yeah, for a whole sec here. Okay, so obviously you can go to our.
Hold on. Wait, take your whiskey and give me.
Well, are you afraid I'm going to drink yours, or are you going to drink mine?
I'm afraid I'm going to drink yours and come down with something.
Hey, you know what the doc says? It's not my fault I had that. So, regardless of what it is.
Your doc is leaning way too much on bedside manner and not enough on science.
Not enough on science.
Scotch is the great disinfector.
Exactly.
Dr. Scotch.
Thanks for the abuse, guys. I just want you to know.
Go for it.
All right. Okay. All right. So you can go here and you ship BgInfo. Obviously, just import
so this is an example. There's a lot of ways to run BgInfo. We had requests of people, please put BgInfo out there. We didn't want to throw 7 packages out there for BgInfo, so we just threw one. It's mostly to get your mind juices flowing on ways to do that. This one, I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Well, this one specifically, we just copy BgInfo out and run it from the temp directory, and it just runs the standard. And it has a pop-up
but
for
it's interesting. This one runs. Notice we've got this step 1 highlighted. I'm going to go over here to options, and notice the run as. It runs as the logged on user. Right? Let's make that window a little. Yeah, it runs as logged on user. So it's important because we want this to show. A user has to be logged on, but then the information that it displays
exactly
is kind of
the uses for the information. So,
but notice this condition. Going to the conditions tab. Now the logged on state condition says only run if a user is logged on. That way, if you have that with that condition set and no user is logged on, this step will not run. So in this example, it's you have an end user that you're trying to help. They've called you up. They need some help with their system. You're the help desk. You can deploy this to that target and say, okay, read this information to me because there's some stuff that you might need in troubleshooting. Do you want to show that, or what are you going to do?
Oh, I was going to just say now, there's just the basic information. If we were to run this, let's just deploy this right now.
Do we have a remote session open up?
Let's just run it right here.
Well, do we have somebody logged on to like Morty or something?
I'm just thinking we run it on Guinness.
Oh, you can run it on Guinness. Go for it.
Okay, so because I'm going to show.
So Guinness is the machine on which
we're running.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show how to send. If you just want to concatenate that data you're getting, so you just get that's a lot for a user, and some users are like, huh, what line, So I've written one that you can actually pass a different config file to, so it just, it's
you want to show
just
that?
basic information. So the one I wrote is BgInfo custom, and all I did here was I copied a BG basic file, which I went out and
the BGI file.
Excuse me, the BGI file, and I just took out everything I didn't need. So if you were to run BgInfo, and then all I did was include it right here, and I say start, run it, include the BGI
Very
file.
important. So he's referencing in this command that we're going to load a BGI file, which is part of BgInfo. I say, hey, I want to be able to. I'm going to tell you what information to grab and display. Notice in the little files, it was being blocked by us, but he's added that as an additional file.
Okay, so that will run in just a second. Our BgInfo popped up. Notice it's a pretty big. Let me get that up so you guys can actually read that.
This was the result of the deployment.
Yep, this is just the standard deployment of BgInfo. So you'll notice I cut that down with this guy and basically we'll run this one again here. Just deploy this to Guinness. And it will be much smaller display window, And it's just pertinent information, IP address, name of the file, who's logged on.
The cool thing about BgInfo I love is one of the reasons why it is such a mainstay, and so far really the only utility that we've added to the package library. It's because of this. I mean, it's used by help desks worldwide.
So you notice now there's just the IP address, the MAC address, the speed, who's logged in. Significantly smaller, a lot easier for your end users. If you think
You get to choose the info.
There you go.
And how do you choose what info? There's always, may I?
Let's by all means.
What is the way that you find out? Thank you.
Yeah.
See, you're concerned too. How do you find out
if you just run BgInfo from here, it's going to display what information.
Just run, no.
Straight up.
So this is where and then you can say, I don't want this, I don't want that, and then you can save this file as a BGI file.
BGI file, yep.
Now, a lot of these have, no, I don't want to say the changes. A lot of these also have
Usability.
Usage statements. So if it's a GUI app and there's a handful of like PsLoggedOn, no GUI, it's strictly command line. You would see the usage statement in your command shell. But in this case, this is a graphical application, so it pops up the usage statement. These are the options that you have. Very important in PDQ deploy. Well, important in tools or anything that you need to pass parameters to. But remember, /? is usually a good way. It doesn't work on every application. Whoever programmed this application has to allow and provide a usage statement. But it's a low-hanging fruit for those of you who are like, hey, what the hell is the parameter that I can use? First thing you want to do, even before Google Foo, is /?
True. We got a question?
Dear Shane and Lex, we currently use a Windows scheduled task to shut down our machines nightly. Is it possible to do the same thing with PDQ and psshutdown? It needs to have a set window and a forced stop before the users come in and run nightly. Sincerely, Jorlando D.
The answer is yes, but you could actually remove psshutdown from that equation.
Just do a shutdown, a reboot step, and
so
say
if
we're doing a shutdown.
To answer your, and still you could to set it to not continue to run after the users. The answer is yes. Create a new one. Notice Lex opened up a new package and he just went to reboot. Do not do shutdown only, Lex.
Boom! Yeah.
Why do you hate end users so much?
I've had a lot of experience.
Talk about some trauma.
Dealing with.
We need to get psychiatrists.
Total knockout.
It's like what Seinfeld told to George. You don't need just a therapist. You need to get in at the university level. You need to go to like Vienna
Gotta get some
and have just
studies
teams of doctors working around the clock to handle your neuroses. Anyway, so you could set up this reboot. Obviously, we've mentioned this before. When you're doing a reboot, you should always control the targets you deploy to, but I would still recommend coming in here and turning off the servers unless you really want. So we're saying only run this on workstations, right? And
again,
save it. And guess what? If you want, you could come in here and say only run if no user is logged on, right? But then you're going to schedule this. So I didn't change the name of that package. We'll just change the name. So we'll just call this reboot. Save it. Now, yes, you could do this from psshutdown, but once again, we have this natively. And then when you go to create a schedule, oops, pardon me, I said attach schedule. We don't want to attach this to a schedule. We're going to create a new one. Do not use, since you want this to shut down at a particular time, do not use the trigger heartbeat and do not have this go into the retry queue. All right? That will help
things.
you, yes.
Bad things.
But you could say weekly, you want that. I can't remember. I think you said Saturday night or something like that. So we'll hit Saturday and have it run at.
Just hit PM on that guy.
Yeah, we'll just go to PM. Have this run at PM. This by default, the timeout will happen at 1 hour. But because we're not having the heartbeat trigger and we're not doing the retry queue for this, so if you do have the retry queue, you're going to want to turn this off. Weekend, we'll call this one weekend workstation reboot.
And
Then because you don't have the retry queue and yada yada yada, then you're going to be good on your targets. I recommend linking to like PDQ inventory collection or something like that. We'll just look for workstations. We'll just say yes, all workstations, whatever. And then on your options, you're going to want to go uncheck this, stop deploying to targets once they succeed. You're running this every single week. Remember, packages are often software deployment. This is not software deployment. We have that option there so that if this happened to be like installing Chrome, you wouldn't install Chrome on the same targets
Over and over.
every single week. That's why that's, hey, once this package has been successfully deployed or the schedule, don't do it. Now we're going to uncheck that because the next week we want, this is a gotcha. We have people that do this very thing. They set up a reboot, first week, excellent. The next weekend, it's like, hey, I had a 98% shutdown rate and now I've got a 4.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, what's or 2%. Why is that the case? Because according to this, it was saying, you received this already.
Should we take a last question?
Offline settings, just really quick.
Oh,
if you're
sorry.
using the retry queue, if you are having that set up globally, so it's enabled globally, you want to turn it off here. In this case, we don't have it turned on globally, so we're accepting the defaults. You do that, and you should be good to go.
Golden.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take another question.
Dear Shane and Lex, where is the best place to learn more about PDQ and Sysinternals? Will there be a blog post detailing what you can't get into here? Sincerely, the marvelous Mary M.
Hey, Mary.
There will now. Thank you for that suggestion. Yeah, we should probably that actually might need to be multiple blogs.
Yeah, multi-part. blog,
But yeah, we'll throw. I mean, to say what we can't get into here, we could get into a lot. It's just like I say, Sysinternals is huge. I mean, that's why there's 40 or 50 utilities, and everybody usually has their favorite 3 or 4 or 5.
Yep.
So that would be intense if we were to try to cover each and every single one of them. But were there any other questions? All right.
Well, Shane,
Did we never covered remote command?
No, we didn't.
yeah, another day.
Yeah, remote command is another way of running this from inventory. You just have to remember it's not going to run any GUI app, and this is a way to, instead of a tool which executes on the server machine and then hopefully uses like the remote computer parameter. No, this is where you run it locally on that target computer using the remote command feature, and then it executes as though it was just running.
Do we want to show it quickly?
Kind of.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it. Everybody's sticking around.
All right.
So we'll go back to Morty here. Now,
We know Sysinternals.
we copied. I think we deployed this out to Morty, right? So
Yep.
this is good. This is when you're using a remote command, you need to make sure that any command you run
They exist.
on that target computer. And if you don't remember, we copied these to the Windows directory. If you don't put it in a directory that's in the path, then you need to call that
Full directory.
Just want to throw that out there. So we're going to go to Tools. You'll see there's a remote command. It's also Control-Alt-C. But we could do a PsLoggedOn -except EULA. Now, because we, once again, have to call this out, we put this in the Windows directory, so we know it's in the path. So PsLoggedOn except EULA and hit run. So one thing you really, when you're running remote commands, the command has to be able to run, execute, and close. If there's any user interaction that's needed, it's not going to work. It's going to hang because the user's not going to see anything. This runs as a service that's hidden. It's not interactive. But that's why there are certain cases where this will work, and this is a PsLoggedOn is one of those. PsList is another one. But you want, in this case, we can see, oh yeah, these are the users that are logged in, and that's using a remote command. That was executed completely from the target computer Morty, and PsLoggedOn did exist out there. We did not cover live.sysinternals.com. Go out there and check that.
It's a great resource. Yeah.
Yep. Microsoft bought Sysinternals. We can go back. We can go ahead and wrap it up now. Microsoft bought Sysinternals. I used it since it was NT internals, and then it moved to WinTernals.
Dating ourselves, yeah.
And then they bought the WinTernals back in 2006. So it's now maintained by Microsoft, and obviously Mark Rosanovich was the main guy. Mark, you are a hero. I've attended your sessions. You are a hero to sysadmins worldwide, and I want to thank you for all that you do, even though you are a noted Nickelback fan. Rock on, everybody. We'll see you for Tech Tuesday coming up this Tuesday.
Yeah, Tech Tuesday.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, Zach M. and Chad B., winners of PDQ swag. Also, Chris C., winner of our PDQ vintage floppy coaster. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. And please mark your calendar. This Tuesday, October 17th, is Tech Tuesday. We'll be talking about Wireshark. Have a great week, and we'll see you on Tuesday.